Heartfelt, heartfelt, heartfelt welcome to this live talk and meditation on the Academy of Compassion's new Facebook page. I am going to wait for a little while to see if anyone is watching, if you can hear me. Maybe you can give me a comment if you can see and if you can hear me. One person watching. So I will wait a little longer and see if anyone else comes on. And to you who are watching, a really, really warm welcome. So, my name is Katarina Mannheimer Ahlström, and I have a PhD in clinical social work from the University of Chicago in the United States. I used to live in Chicago for 10 years. I now live in Sweden, where I also worked for many years in the academic world. I worked in the university world. I worked as a lecturer at the University of Stockholm for a long time. And some 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago, I had a very strong wish to work closer to heart. So I opened a clinical practice and started to work as a hypnotherapist, a journey practitioner, a meditation teacher. I have held many workshops and retreats in personal development over the years. And I also work as an author. So I have written 2 books. One of them is out. It's available in English. It's called Journey of the Heart. And in Swedish it is called Dit hjärtat längtar. And I have also recently written a new book, and it is not out yet, but that book is called I Will Get Through This. And the reason why I'm having this talk and meditation today is partially to introduce this new Facebook site where I will share meditations and I will share talks on a regular basis. But it is also to share with you about a journey that I have done over the last year, a journey to lead myself lovingly through illness. So what I'm going to share today is a personal story. And the reason why I chose this day is that it is actually the anniversary of how that all began. Because on the 29th of April in 2020, the pandemic had been going on for a few weeks, about 6 weeks. And I was trying to help out a little bit through that initial phase of the pandemic with giving talks online about how to raise our vibration and how to find peace and how to lead ourselves through a difficult time. But little did I know that on the 29th of April, I myself was diagnosed with a malignant tumor in my left breast. I discovered a lump and went to the doctor and was told that I had this tumor and that I needed to be operated on. And we didn't know if the tumor had spread or not. But it was not very aggressive, but the plan was to put me through operation, surgery, and also radiation therapy. And as a third intervention, I was supposed to take anti-estrogen hormones for 5 years. On the day after, exactly 1 year ago today, I went to the apartment where I did my online therapeutic processes. And I did an online meeting with a client. And I was about to pack up and go home to my husband to spend the rest of the evening and celebrate what we in Sweden call Valborg, which is today. And my husband called right before I was going to leave my workspace and said that he did not feel all that well. He had a little bit of throat ache. And both of us were really concerned that I would catch COVID or a cold before my surgery. The surgery was to be on the 12th of May, so just 2 weeks later, or actually just 13 days later. So instead, I decided to quarantine myself in my creative workspace and make it into a retreat where I decided to use all the tools that I know when I'm working with my clients, and some more, and all the spiritual knowledge that I have accumulated over the years, that I was going to use that on myself. And my talk today is about what I learned about love and life, and about how to lead oneself through illness or shaky times. So upon isolating myself, I decided to make this into a silent retreat. It doesn't mean that I was silent all the time, but say 75% of the time I sat in silence and did deep meditations on myself. Also journey processes, visualizations, guided meditations, everything I knew. One of the first things that I decided when I went to this retreat was not to focus on fear. Of course, I was afraid. I was scared to death, absolutely. And I let that fear come when it had to. I actually did what we in many types of therapy, and among others, journey therapy, we call it to boil in your emotions. When I had a strong emotion that usually was fear, I invited that emotion and I let it boil inside of me, almost as if you boil a little bit of water in a pot. I just let the feeling implode. I welcomed it and let it have its way with me, which it did for a while. And usually when we let our emotions flow freely, they don't go on for more than a minute or two. So anytime I felt really afraid, I absolutely welcomed it organically. But I made a deep decision to not cultivate fear more than necessarily. I did not go out on Google to read about breast cancer more than once. I got so scared from it, so I just closed my computer and decided not to go there. I did not watch news. I did not follow any type of negative information. I just focused on building my immune system because I knew that in order to get through this, in order to conquer this, I needed to have a strong immune system, that was to be my best friend. So I knew that I needed to find peace. I needed to find a way to calm myself. I needed to find a way to soothe myself and to really take good care of myself in terms of sleep, in terms of what I ate, in terms of how I treated myself in every way. So I also decided to cultivate joy and laughter in the midst of all this fear. I also knew that all emotions are fluid and welcome. And I read somewhere about a woman once who laughed herself free from cancer. So I decided to find a way to laugh every day. So talking with my husband and my children, I decided to watch a fun TV series. I chose Friends, and I saw at least 1 or 2 sessions every day. So I cultivated laughter and allowing for all feelings to organically flow through my body. I also chose to have an attitude of acceptance. There was no one to blame for my cancer. I had no idea why I had contracted it, or gotten it rather. It could be genetic, it could be lifestyle, it could be stress, it could be hormones that I had been eating, it could be any number of things, and I decided to not try to put blame on either myself or anyone else. So I went into a state of acceptance, no blaming, no sense of being angry at anything that took place inside of my own body. Personally, I've never felt that that was a good way to treat yourself, to be angry at your own body. So I also understood and looked into that there's a lot of things that you can do to help yourself heal. So I started to study the different things that you can do to help yourself. So I bought a book, ordered a book that is called Anti-Cancer. It became my Bible. I will show you this here. It is written by an American doctor. His name is David Servan Schreiber. And in that book, I learned how to live and to use food as an active, slowly working medicine. So I decided on this day, I decided to become a vegan. Basically because vegan foods are very anti-inflammatory, which heightens the immune system, but also because my type of cancer happened to be dependent on estrogen, and I knew that plant-based foods do contain much less estrogen than animal-based foods. So I cut carbohydrates, I cut gluten, I cut all meats, and started to eat what's called rainbow food, which is colorful vegetables and berries and fruits. So I started as a therapy to make these wonderful dishes with chickpeas and bean pasta and tomatoes and garlic and onions and spinach, and I just mixed all the colors I could into these foods, and my husband was wonderful enough to come with clean, ecological, plant-based foods every day. And so I spent time cooking. Another thing that I did was, as a meditation teacher and therapist, I often do guided meditations for my clients. These are meditations that come out of my clients' wishes for how they want their life to be. So usually I ask my clients to give me a list of things they want to tell themselves, things they want to say to themselves. And they gave me a list of words that they want to hear. And from these words, I make a poetic, beautiful meditation with a little bit of music in the background. And I give this to my client, or I read it into their cell phone so that my client can listen to this every day. As soon as they wake up, before they go to sleep, when the subconscious mind is completely open, and when messages just go in behind the defense systems, the defense mechanisms. So I decided to make myself a guided meditation. Actually, I had one. I always have one that I'm using, but I decided to make myself a new one that focused on healing my cells, healing this illness. And I actually told myself that I was already well, because your fantasy accepts anything and everything is possible. And gratitude is the greatest proof that something already happened. So I thanked the universe, I thanked God for being healthy already. I thanked my body for healing already. I told my body to eat what supports it the most. I told my body to tell me what it needs me to do. So I made this meditation for myself and started to literally brainwash myself with this. I listened to it the first thing I did in the morning, when I went out for walks in nature, when I was about to fall asleep, whenever I took a rest, I was listening to this meditation. Another thing that was really important was to cultivate close, supportive, loving relations. I was in close contact with my closest, with my husband, with my children, with my closest friends, and I had daily conversations, because when we get support and love and feel close to our loved ones, a hormone that's called oxytocin starts to spread in our bodies, and oxytocin is our safety hormone. So I tried to find ways to create that safety hormone in myself as much as possible. It is also possible to give yourself more oxytocin and more a feeling of security and safety by taking a warm bath, which I also took, and having warm blankets around yourself, getting beautiful text messages from friends or loved ones. So I really cultivated these really safe, warm, beautiful relationships that I had around me. Not in touch with a lot of people. I didn't overdo it. I didn't go out on Facebook, but I really tried to create this feeling of being held. Even though I was in isolation, I was in quarantine, I was in a retreat, I still saw to it to feel really, really held and supported, not only by others, but also by myself. I truly went into a completely new attitude as to my own body. This was completely new to me, even though I have been on a spiritual path for a long time, even though I have been working with personal development, with meditations, with lots of processes to enhance your own well-being. I had not really included my body. And a new type of self-love emerged, a reverence for my own body, a complete understanding that without this beautiful vessel that we all have as our home here on earth, we have nothing to live in. And I understood that for so many years, I had been taken this body for granted. I had not always treated it well. I had not cared for it all the time. I have had periods in my life when I was younger when I did not really treat my body well, where I starved and I smoked and I drank too much alcohol. It's a very long time ago now, but I put my body through quite a few things. I pressured myself over the years. I didn't stop, even though I was exhausted. I worked too much. I've done a lot of things to my body, and I fully understood that this beautiful vessel, this temple that we are all given, deserves the best of care. And almost as if it was a little child, I apologized to my body for having put it through unhealthy things. And I thanked it, and I asked it for another chance. It was a very touching moment. And my body responded by telling me what it wanted to eat, where it wanted to go, when it wanted to rest, and I listened. I listened to every little whim. Another thing that I did during my 12-day retreat was that I had a wonderful fellow journey practitioner who gave me as many journey processes as I wanted. And for those of you who do not know what the journey is, it is a guided, it's a guided introspection where you dive deeply into your body and you communicate with your body or with a blockage, and you ask it what it could have to do with, what its origins are. And in journey therapy, it's often said that every physiological ailment has a psychological component, and every psychological ailment has a physiological component, because body and soul are interlinked. So to work with, whenever you have a physical problem, there might be a psychological part of that. So I decided to venture into my body, to visit my tumor, and to start a conversation with it, asking it, if you have a message for me, if there's anything you need to tell me, what would that be? And I did many, many journeys, and childhood themes that I've been working on many, many times came up, and forgiveness processes that I had to do, I did over again. So I did many journeys that were quite similar to journeys that I have done over the years. But there was one that stuck out. And this is something that is very significant, because during one morning, I did a journey on my own. I did some journeys on my own as well. And this particular journey, I was not feeling good that morning, and I was very restless. So I laid down on the couch in the apartment where I was, and I closed my eyes and journeyed into my breast and asked it again if it had a message for me. And all of a sudden, I got a vision that the whole left side of my body was completely empty. And this vision was a little weird. I couldn't quite understand it, but I came to think of the yoga tradition, where you often talk about the left side of the body as being the feminine side, and the right side of the body as being the masculine, except for the brain, where it's the other way around. And I understood that my left side, my feminine side, was very weak. And upon asking what that weakness had to do with, I got a very strong message that I have not used my feminine power. I have used my femininity in many, many ways, but not my power. I have given the right away. I had given the right away to things that were not feminine ways of expression. So whenever I needed to to set limits. Whenever I needed to assert myself in the world, I went to my masculinity. I gave right away. I gave much more importance to logic, to facts, to analysis, to success, to being something out in the world, really, that I had done, to looking into intuition, feeling, own experience. And I realized that even though I have been working with meditations and journeys for so many years now, there was a part of me that didn't think that this was as credible as facts that come from outside. And I was asking myself, really, why are those sources of information not equally important? Why is not the information you get from inside as important as the one you get from outside? And I forgave myself for not really having taken parts of myself seriously. That any time I wanted to be taken seriously, I did not go to what my emotions, I did not listen to my intuition, I did not listen to my experiences. I went outside and listened to other voices. And the more we listen to other voices, the weaker our own will be. So it is not that you're not supposed to listen to facts. Absolutely, you should. And I do it myself too. It's not that. But also give importance to your intuition. Give importance to what you know in your heart is true, to what you feel and what you have experienced firsthand. There is nothing as powerful as that. And why not use that as equally important a source of information as what you get from outside? And when I forgave myself for actually having disregarded big parts of myself as not being as credible, not being as trustworthy, the tumor that was sitting here, I knew exactly where it was, started to itch very strongly. And the words, "It is done," came up in my head. And I just knew in my heart that healing had happened. And in fact, every time something I did really had an effect, it seems like, the tumor started to itch. So there were some other things that I did that also seemed to help. And I did daily visualizations where I saw like a scale. It went from 1 to 8, where 8 for me indicated that the rate of aggression on the tumor was 8%. It was a growth rate. It is called Ki-67. So the growth rate of the tumor was 8%, which is not very aggressive, but anyway, it was a malignant tumor. And I started to visualize how I dialed down the strength of the tumor, and I started to dial it down to 4, and it stood on 4 for quite a few days. Then I dialed it down further, and it got down to 2. And I thought, my gosh, something is happening now. It is getting weaker. And I continued to dial down the tumor and dialed it down to 1. And all of a sudden, I had a vision of because often when you do these kind of processes, you have an assistant with you. And all of a sudden, the Egyptian goddess Isis came into my vision and showed me number 1. She showed me number 1, and this number had a lot of gold dots on it, and the tumor started to itch. So I knew that something had happened again, which was wonderful. So I continued my visualizations, and I also found that there is, excuse me, I have to drink a glass, a sip of water. I also found that there is a frequency that has been said to help heal cancer. There is a frequency that cancer absolutely hates listening to. You know, just as an opera singer can sing a high tune and a glass breaks, there is a frequency that cancer really detests. I have been working in my meditations and guided meditations over the years. I've been working with a type of frequency that is called solfeggio frequencies. This is music that the Gregorian monks used to have in their psalms. It's also used in Sanskrit psalms, and it is a type of frequency that is said to be positive for body and soul. And it's also sort of following the chakra system, the yogic chakra system. So I read that there's this solfeggio frequency that is called 444 megahertz. Cancer hates it. I started to read about studies that have been done with this frequency, and it is said that yes, cancer cells, they die from this frequency, but healthy cells do survive from it. It doesn't hurt healthy cells, but cancer cells die. And I found that frequency and decided to apply it directly onto the tumor, which I did twice a day. I downloaded it from YouTube, solfeggio frequency 444, and I used my daughter's loudspeakers, because I could take one of the loudspeakers and put it directly onto where the tumor was. So I put this loudspeaker on, and I played this frequency right into the tumor, 20 minutes morning and night. And I will tell you that the tumor itched just in the same way as that journey process and as that visualization that I did. So I knew that that solfeggio frequency did something. I was applying this frequency twice a day for about 1 week before the operation. And when the day of the, one thing I also need to say, that I really started every day with a little ritual of eating garlic and orange, because I had heard that cancer really hates garlic. So I had this garlic ceremony that I did with myself. And I spent time out in nature, because that heightens our frequency. So I would say that everything I did was basically things that help us lighten up our frequency and strengthen our immune system. So when the day of the operation came, the tumor was taken out. The operation went really well. And I could feel in my body that I was well. I felt I was completely well. Of course, I didn't know, because no one knew if the tumor had spread or not. But I felt well, and I chose to trust that. I chose to trust the feeling that I was healing. And I felt that the worst thing that can happen is that I'm not successful in helping my own healing. I knew that I had the operation coming, and this is important also, had it not been Corona, had it not been a pandemic, I would probably not have gone into a retreat prior to my surgery. I would probably have worked as usual. I would have gone home, I would have lived on my life, maybe done some of these processes, but not as deeply and not as dedicated as I did, since I decided to make this into a retreat. So I was doing 12 days. I was fully immersed in a deep, deep, deep process, very close to soul, very close to heart. So the tumor was taken out, and about a week later, my husband and I went back to the hospital, and the doctors had done an analysis, a biopsy of the tumor, and said that the first good news was that the cancer had not spread. The second thing she said was that, I don't know what have happened, but there's almost no cancer left in the tumor. It had gone down from 8% in aggressivity to just 1% in aggressivity, which is 90%. So the tumor had weakened 90% in 12 days. And the doctor said, I don't know what happened. And of course, cancer can heal spontaneously. There can be faulty measures to start with. Who knows? But I knew in my heart that what I had done had helped. So I told the doctor that I know what happened. I healed myself with hypnosis and meditations and visualizations and vegan food and solfeggio frequencies, and of course, who knows? I cannot prove that that was what made the difference. But the fact is that it had shrunk 90%. And I knew in my heart that every time the tumor had been itching something, it had healed, something had happened. I went on to do radiation therapy, and which was really tough on the body, I have to say, and continued to do meditations on myself. And I felt that it was almost a chance, an opportunity to use this feeling of being completely falling apart, as the radiation actually had me feel that I was falling apart. And I used this sense of falling apart to actually cleanse out anything that I needed to clean out. Old patterns, old ideas, ways of being that I felt were obsolete. And I also elaborated with, and I've done that on retreats also with a journey and some others, that there is a method where you can actually imagine that you can shut off genes that are not useful anymore. We have a gene for almost anything. We have genes for compassion, we have genes for fear, we have genes for worry, we have genes for positivity and humor. So I was looking into what genes I could actually just shut off and think that thank you, but this is over now. So I was working with really heightening my frequency. And what I've done over this last year, basically, is making room for a higher frequency to take place, also inside of my body. I have never lived in such a healthy way. I started after the operation to work out, which I have done almost every day since then, or at least many days a week. And I work out an hour a day. It doesn't have to be very advanced, but I sit on a stationary bike and I do some workout exercising in a gym. And I'm also out walking. I see to it that my body gets what it needs. So I have a whole new way of looking at life holistically, where I allow for self-love to be a huge part. And what I want to share with you is also that self-love is something that we are really, really, really not so good at in the Western world. Living in Sweden, I know that at least, if not this generation that's growing up now, maybe not so much, but the generation where I grew up in, and not to speak of my parents' generation, had a very critical, self-critical way of looking at the fact of being human. You're inherently not good enough when you're human. And I have given that a lot of thought, how that can be. And I've come to believe that it has to do with being born as someone who has a very natural, organic, unique personality. And with this unique personality of yours, you're born into a family that might tell you that this and that and the other about your personality is not okay. Maybe you're too loud, maybe you're too shy, maybe you're too, you're too big, or you're too small, or you're too quiet, or you're too outgoing. You're too short or too tall. There's just always something that makes us redo ourselves into this quasi-persona that sometimes is called the ego. So it starts out in our closest environment, where maybe our siblings and our parents tell us that don't be this way, you should be this way instead. And then we start school, and the teachers and the friends are telling us that, this is how you should be. And then we get older and get out into society and start working, and our working environment tells us that this is how you should be. And society as a whole, and the discourse in society and the media, all of a sudden there's tons of instructions of how we ought to be. And this persona that we ought to be is often very different from the persona that was innocently born with a strong, unique personality, part genetic, or mostly genetic, but part also, from the universe, from old wisdom. And this sense of losing who you really are gives us a deep belief that who I am is not good enough. As a matter of fact, I had to abandon who I really am to become someone else. And who I became, I'm just playing this role, so that's not good enough either. So I did a small, very unofficial study, a clinical study with my clients. I asked a number of clients to do a hypnotic session with me if I was allowed to ask them one question. They got a session for free. And I asked everybody the same question in the same way, that if there was something that keeps you back from living life fully, from being fully who you are in life and living up to your full potential, what would that thought or belief be? And it was a little bit shocking, because everybody, 100%, I had 20 participants here, 100% answered in almost the same way. And the answer was, I'm not good enough. And I started to think that this is actually a universal problem. And what kind of world are we going to have if people are living, their life from the back burner, thinking that they have nothing to contribute with? We are in a time where we need to step up more than ever, and we need to do that from our fullest light, our fullest potential. And only when we learn to love ourselves can we let ourselves shine without feeling that we're too much. So I really learned a huge lesson about self-love over this year. So what I did to help myself heal was that I worked with guided meditations and visualizations, journey processes, sound frequencies. I changed my diet. I was outside. I cultivated my close, loving, really supportive relationships. And also after the operation, of course, I came out into the world again and I started to see more people, even though we've been in not lockdown in Sweden, but we've been in a very different situation. I feel that I have had a rich social life over this last year, even though it's on the phone, or if there are many, many ways that we can feel connected. So when we stand in front of a challenging situation, finding ways to make ourselves as safe, as harmonious, as held as possible will help us through it so much better. And this is not to say that you should not feel your feelings. Again, invite your feelings, feel them fully, but let it come organically, and do not cultivate fear more than necessary, because our best friend is a strong immune system. Our best friend is finding balance and finding ways to support ourselves through shaky times. So what else was I going to say? Yes, raising the frequency of body and mind. Have a positive outlook on life as much as you can. Seek out beauty. It really raises the frequency. Raise the frequency of your body. Eat things that are clean, that supports you, that gives you the nutrition that you need. See to it that you really take care of your body in terms of what you eat, because we become what we eat. And also be out in nature. Connect with nature. Hug a tree. Lay on the ground. Feel grounded out in nature. Nature has fantastic healing capacities. Move your body. Take time to heal past wounds. Don't keep secrets to yourself. Don't keep secrets for yourself. Because personal development is, as I see it, virtually impossible if we keep secrets to ourselves, about ourselves. If there are a lot of things we don't admit to ourselves, if we do not admit what we need to work with or who we really are, if we do not admit to ourselves who we really are, there's no way that we can grow. We need to be transparent with ourselves. And what else? Yes, love and accept yourself. You're good enough as you are. Have a loving relationship with yourself and treat your body as this temple as it is. Be grateful for life. After my journey with cancer, I told myself that I have actively chosen life. And the reason why I say that I actually chose life is that I dedicated myself to really do whatever I could to treat my body right and to treat myself right. And that was an active choice to ask myself for another chance. I did not know, I had no clue if it would help or not, but I knew that the worst that could happen was nothing at all. And I was willing to take that risk, because we never know. We never know. So this is what I wanted to tell you about my journey. And I also was thinking of inviting you to a meditation. So let's see what time we have. Yes. So I will start a little bit of music. And what I was thinking of is that I will try to integrate several of the types of meditations that I did in sort of a mixture. So let's see where it takes us. Can you hear this music? So take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And for a moment, focus on your heart, on your physical heart. Just let your heart become completely accessible to you. Let all its vulnerability, innocence, humility, sensitivity, vulnerability be completely welcome. Just let your heart know that it is completely welcome to be exactly as it is. It is safe. No need to put up any shields. And for a moment, let your chest relax. And just let this relaxation fall into your arms. Let them get heavy and relaxed. Let this relaxation fall down from your chest into your tummy area. And further down into the reproductive organs, your legs, your knees, calves, feet. And as your body gets more and more relaxed, you can also let this relaxation slowly fall into your throat. Just let it relax your neck, your cheeks. Let the relaxation fall in behind your nose, inside of the ears, the back of your eyes. And let it slowly creep into the left side of your brain. The part of you that is so active with comparing, analyzing, planning, thinking about what has been and what is yet to come, maybe worrying a little bit. This active part of you, the thinker, let this part of you know that it is so safe to let go now for a while. Just be. Let the processes of your left brain slow down more and more with every breath that you take. Just imagine that a beautiful color, a soothing, beautiful shimmering color comes into the left side of your brain and lays itself down as a comforter, a warm blanket around every cell, and lets it know that it's safe to relax, to let go. And as your left side of the brain relaxes more and more, you can now let this relaxation slowly glide in to the right side of the brain. The part of you that carries your intuition, your dreams, your imagination, and also your inner wisdom you're experiencing, and that is always here and now. So just let this part of your brain know that it is so welcome to take just as much space as the other part. In fact, it can grow bigger. It can take up more space now. It can help this meditation. So let the right side of your brain hold the reins a little while. Let it expand and become completely open, endless, boundless, without limit. And invite all the wisdom that is available for you to be here now. And as you relax in this open space where everything that is said is completely accepted as a fact, as a truth, just remind yourself of who you are, and that you are love. And remind yourself of everything that you can be grateful of. Remind yourself of how fantastic it is to be on this planet at this time, to have a body, to be able to feel, and to think, and to breathe. Just give thanks for all the love and all the important relations that you have in your life. And give thanks for the relationship you have with yourself. That is the one relationship you will have for the rest of your life. So make a commitment that it is a good one. And I will read to you a meditation that I did every day during my retreat, just to remind me of how I wanted things to be, what I wished for. I am so grateful for my life, so grateful for my health and for my body that carries me on earth. So grateful for the gift of being alive. Thanks for all my cells being in perfect health now, because my body is now regenerating in a wonderful way. Old destructive patterns have forever fallen away, and new constructive patterns are now in place. I choose my best possible life. I take care of myself in the best possible way. I honor this wonderful vessel that carries me through this life, and I listen to my body, and I honor it in the best possible way. I exercise it in ways that are perfect for me. I choose foods that strengthen my immune system. I choose to treat my body with honor and respect. I choose a healthy way of life because I choose what's best for my health in every way. I listen to my heart. I trust my heart and stand up for myself in every way. I am true to myself, and I know what I need. I know what I wish for. I honor myself as I honor my relations. I treat myself with love and respect. I know I always did my best, and I forgive myself for all that needs to be forgiven. I trust my own judgment and tap into the wisdom of my soul. I choose harmony and peace in all my relations and mend what needs to be mended in order to reach peace and harmony. I choose my best possible life here on earth. I choose the highest and the best vibration and shine as my fullest potential in everything I do. So just focus on your heart again. And you know, Our heart has its own language. It actually speaks to us in its own way. It has its own brain cell-like cells. And it sends information to the brain all the time. We just need to learn how to listen to how the heart communicates with us. It needs a certain stillness in order to talk to us. But when we ask our heart a question, it will answer. The way to do that is in meditation, because when your eyes are closed, you tell your heart that your focus is going inward. And then you breathe slowly, because this tells your body that all is safe. And when your heart listens, when you feel you're connected to your heart, just ask it a simple question and listen to its answer. It could be a question about what's best for you. It could be a question of what choice to make. Just a simple question. Often you'll get a yes or no. So now, when you're connected to your heart, just ask it a question and listen to the answer. I'm going to be quiet for a while you talk to your heart. And then, if you would like to, you can ask your heart if there is a pattern or a thought that is ready to leave. Something that you can actually let go of. Just see what comes up. If there was something that is weighing me down, stopping me from living life fully, a thought, a belief, an idea that I have about myself, that I can let go of today, what would that be? And listen to the answer. See what it is that comes up. And because it is Valborg today, the 30th of April, the day of great bonfires, imagine a big bonfire and take the chance to throw in whatever you do not need to carry around anymore into that holy bonfire. A belief that you're not good enough, or whatever else that has been weighing you down, maybe for all of your life. Just throw it in to this bonfire. see how it melts, burns up, becomes ashes. How the smoke goes up into the heavens. How you are free and cleansed and healed from whatever old idea was weighing you down. Sometimes these are patterns that go on for generations. So just know that when you heal, the pattern stops. It will not be repeated in the future. And then I would like to suggest that you invite a younger version of yourself to the bonfire. A version of yourself that had yet not, maybe, given up the core personality. Maybe that's a 3-year-old version of yourself, maybe it's younger, maybe it's a little bit older. You can look that younger self deep into the eyes and let it know you're so sorry for not having listened, for not having honored, for not having let yourself be who you are. And you can tell your younger self that from now on, that younger part of you will be with you all the time. Because you have the right to be who you are. In fact, that's when you're at your best. That's your birthright. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's the healthiest way of being you. So let that younger version of you just expand and grow up inside of you. Let it know that from now on, it will be with you, and it's okay to be all that you are. It's okay to be you. You are perfect exactly the way you are. You are so loved for being exactly who you are. So just give all the parts of yourself the right to love yourself completely. Accept yourself completely. Just let your younger self know that it is so loved, that it's so okay to be you. And before we end this meditation, I would like for you to invite the state of being that you long for, the way you would love to feel. And take a moment to teach your body what that is. Maybe it's harmony, maybe it's peace, maybe it's joy, maybe it's tranquility. Whatever it is, contentment, happiness. Just teach your body how that feels. Invite the feeling. Feel it in your body and make a commitment to teach your body. How you really want it to feel. what you wish for. And the more often you do this, the better your body will learn that this is the state that I wish for. Invite the feeling or the state of being, the state of mind, the state of, and expand it. Really feel it in every cell of your body. This is how you heighten your vibration. This is how you heighten your frequency. You just teach your body how to do it. When you feel exactly the way you want to feel, you can welcome yourself to come back into the room. Open your eyes when you are ready. So we are coming to the end, almost, of this day. And I'm thinking if there is a last thing that I would like to share with you from what I learned for this year, is really to take responsibility for yourself in terms of stepping out of victim consciousness. Because when we feel that we are responsible for ourselves, it means that we regain our power. When you feel that there's something you can do, that you're not helpless, you become so much more powerful than when you're not. So I decided very early on in this process, it just happened automatically. I just let go of all sense of being helpless, because I knew that yes, there was a lot of things that I couldn't do myself, but there was also things that I could do, and I was committed to do what I could to help my own healing. And in a way, I feel that I learned so much through this process, that all these things that I've been working with for so many years with my clients, when I had to apply this to myself in a very extreme situation, it all came down to self-love. Honoring who you are, really loving your life, really, really wanting your life. And I believe that with all the difficulties of COVID, we have also entered a new time where love and compassion has become so much more visible and important. And what's really important in life becomes so much more visible to us. So actually, in that sense, in the midst of all the difficulties of this time, there are also blessings. There are also beautiful things. So, with those words, I just want to thank you all for taking time to listen. And I hope that I could give you some gifts, because that's really what I wanted this time, to share with you the gift of what I learned. So much, much love to you. Thank you so much, and have a blessed Valborg. Bye-bye.